Who are you? And thanks for having me come out and visit.
Who am I? You would start off with a deep question right off the bat.
An easy to answer question, I hope.
Yes. Very happily married man, father of 3, and have a really fun job. My name is Josh Reynolds, and I'm the Global Tech Practice Director for Hill & Knowlton.
And that's a PR firm.
It is a PR firm.
Tell me what you're seeing happen in the PR space from your point of view, because you're generally the guy who's trying to help companies get their point of view out into the public's view, I guess.
What's really happening is an acceleration of trends that were there before. What you have as a communications professional is a variety of different channels you can use to get the message out. You can go traditional print media, business media, you can go industry analysts, you can go digital, you can either go established blogs and routes, you can go guerrilla and viral, you can go YouTube now, even more choices than ever before to pick the channel to go out with. And what you see now is a natural gravitation toward the most cost-effective channels.
Yeah.
And I don't want to break it all down to economics because it's not just about the money, but it largely is. And so with travel restrictions, I mean, events are definitely, we're seeing a reduction on that. And even a research firm, IDC, has recently measured this and shown that the tech marketing budgets are cutting way back on events and dialing way up on digital. In fact, they say that by 2010, digital will be the largest slice of the pie compared to marketing, advertising, traditional PR, AR. By 2010, digital is going to be the way to go.
Yeah.
So we see, first of all, a gravitation toward the most cost-effective channels, and that tends to be word of mouth, digital, and blogging. But the second thing, and this really can't be stressed enough, the way that the discipline of communications is being practiced is shifting.
How so?
It used to be spin first, ask questions later.
Okay.
Step number 1 now is shut up and listen.
Yeah.
If you think about how much your traditional marketer or advertiser would spend on focus groups, market research, that kind of thing, that was a lot of the budget to get into the mindset and the heads of the people they were selling to. Then once they did that, they controlled the brand. They controlled the font, the color, the timing, which model they're going to hire, the song they're going to play, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But now the control, because we're gravitating toward digital and these more cost-effective channels, the control is shifting. We don't control brand the way we once did. We share that control with a growing community. You start by asking, what's your priority? And in a time when money is tight, the concern is around jobs, the concern is around health, the concern is around the basics like transportation and food, you have to start with listening. And these digital communication channels, while on the one hand they take away from these older ways of communication, offer a fantastic opportunity to those companies that know how to shut up and listen first.
Now, one thing that a lot of people don't know is PR also influences the advertising buys. What are you recommending to your clients there?
Traditionally, advertising was where you created a brand and you controlled that. PR is navigating the uncontrollable.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to post whatever you're going to post, Rob. You're going to put your opinion out there, and you're going to string together little pearls of evidence from what I offer up. It's your story. And the same happens with a digital word of mouth that's out there. I'm not going to control what people put on Facebook or MySpace or what they say about us in the forums. So since PR has this ability to navigate the uncontrollable, to read the mindset first, we're going to be influencing more and more of the advertising strategy, not so much as where are you going to spend the money on ad spend. They have got a core competency in that I'm not going to touch. But we are going to say this is the story that's going to have some viral stickiness that will then get picked up. Let me come back to one data point on this. You know, and this is the exclusive I promised you, we actually did just finish an annual survey of about 400 CEOs and CIOs around the world. We talked to 384 of them live for about half an hour. We asked them all kinds of questions about what influences your decision to buy technology. Big tech purchases, hardware, software, services. And we asked them about 50 different questions, and one of the questions was, what channel of information most influences you? And for the first year, digital overtook traditional media in terms of forming my opinion of how good the technology or the
digital
service is.
Meaning blogs, or what do you mean by that?
Non-company generated content online.
Interesting.
We broke it down that way. Internet sites we defined as the company put the information out, whether it was a corporate blogger or stuff you saw on my site or an artificially created social network, but defined as someone outside my company putting content online, either in a blog or some other site, some other form. That just surpassed traditional media. It was, I think, 21% said this is my #1 way of getting information. 20% said it was traditional media. And then if I go to the top of the list, it used to be industry analysts, right? You call Gartner, IDC, Forrester, and say, hey, which database is best? For the first time, it was word of mouth. 51%, I believe, said word of mouth.
Yeah.
And about just 50% said it was industry analysts. So the first time, word of mouth, I can't control that. And digital outside the company, I can't control that. Just creeped above.
Yeah. And anybody with a fairly large Twitter audience or a friend feed audience understands what you just said, because I can ask I just asked, I said, you know, how are people backing up? And people around the world said, this is the system I'm using, this is the system,
Yep.
this is my workflow, this is, you know, the hard drives I'm using, or the tape backups, or the storage services I'm using. And within an hour, you got a really good look at what people around the world were doing, how they were backing up their lives.
So let me ask you a question. When you pose that question online, how much did you trust the response you were getting?
Very, very highly, because I know enough about the people who are answering, and I know enough of the 1,000 people that would answer. I know 200 of them personally. So, and I know enough that they're credible to me. You know, Tim O'Reilly, if he answers, I know who he is. I know what kind of person he is. I know that he's not going to lie to me because he has a brand and a company and a reputation of his own to protect. So,
and so it is that digital empowered trust that is shifting the power away. And so when I said earlier, there's a shift in communications. Digital technologies allow you to instantly access networks of people you trust.
yeah.
And that's just shifting the whole game.
Yeah. How do you work with clients? Let's say General Motors walks in and says, we need to work with, we need to do a new PR thing for the new Volt or whatever.
There actually is a science to this, and it begins with us sitting down with, let's say it's General Motors, sitting down with them and trying to figure out who is it you're actually trying to reach. We reverse engineer the process from some magic moment in time when someone actually makes a decision and changes their mind. Someone writes me a check who wasn't going to write me a check before.
Yeah.
Customer, investor, partner, or we're going to change a vote. We're going to impact policy. And we look at that one moment in time. Who are we trying to reach? And what is that decision? And you back it up one from that. Okay, so what are their criteria? Back it up one from that. What channels are they going to inform their criteria?
Yeah.
Back it up one from that. It's not just about clicks or who's got the most traffic. It's who's got the most trust, back to your observation earlier.
Yeah.
Who has the most trust with that person whose actual moment in time we're trying to change?
Now this is an interesting discussion, because the blog world and the Twitter world just had this discussion about authority. And everybody was like, oh, we can build a search engine that shows authority based on number of followers, right? And you just said that has, the number of followers is maybe a piece of authority.
It's a variable.
But just because I have a large number of followers doesn't mean I know anything about peanut butter, right?
So let me get physical on you for a second, as in
Yeah.
physics. Energy equals mass times speed squared.
Okay.
Okay. So your size as a blogger is not nearly as important as the velocity with which you reach the target I'm trying to hit.
Interesting.
That's why a bullet does more damage than a fist.
So you're arguing, my last year spent on FriendFeed, which is a very rapid, iterative tool to interact with a large number of people, is more important to you maybe in some situations than the fact that I can do a blog that gets read an hour later.
It's true of martial arts and it's true of communication. Speed and reach matter as much as size.
Interesting.
It absolutely does. Look, and I will also say that spin matters very much. That's almost a dirty word for a PR person to actually say spin. But are you familiar with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle?
Yep, but explain it.
Heisenberg uncertainty principle says that if you're looking at subatomic physics, quantum mechanics and physics, there is a particle that rotates around a nucleus. And you can either know where it is, or you can know where it's headed. Because to measure it, you got to hit it with something. And the minute you hit it, you change it. So you only know either where something is or where it's going. In other words, spin is the only truth.
Interesting.
So our job as communicators, Rob, is to get the most transparent
Yeah.
and honest, open view of these perceptions out there. I can't tell you what objective truth is. I can only tell you where a product is or where it's going, but no one's going to have, objective truth.
Do you guys have, are you building tools to help you study, the Twitter world or the Facebook world or the friend feed world or?
Influencer network analysis, we call it. There's, I'm sure, a prettier name in the works somewhere by some branding person. But influencer network analysis allows us to, by decision type and by audience type and by topic, figure out which bloggers, which reporters have the most pull with which communities.
Interesting.
And we can put together what looks a little bit like an American Airlines airport map to begin with. This person's connected with that person around this topic with this volume. But you boil it down, it allows you to apply the 80-20 rule. For this kind of decision we're trying to change, which are the 20 influencers we need to reach, and which are the 80 that we'll get to when we can?
Yeah.
And that tool's digital, and it's already built.
And built by you guys?
We actually work with a company called Cometric,
Okay.
and it's partnered with Hill & Knowlton. And yeah, we already use this to help us ourselves prioritize under which circumstance, which
So
one do we
you
go to
can
first?
put in there, let's say General Motors comes to you and hires you, you can put in, I am trying to sell a car, who is an influencer in the car world, or?
Well, so it wouldn't just, so we can even more granular than that. It's who's covering alternative transportation, may favor solar versus wind versus nuclear, and may be more concerned with the jobs angle than with the environmental angle.
Wow.
This is a perfect example. That one discussion that General Motors may want to have, there's lots of different reasons I care. I'm a capitalist, I'm an environmentalist, or I would just like to create some more jobs, please.
Yeah.
For every $1 billion you spend on transportation, the U.S. stats are that 37,000 jobs are created, 6,000 of them are permanent. So I might care for that reason.
Now,
Or
for a
I might-
blogger, this is sort of scary because you really know me better than I know me, right?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far. But I do know why you matter. I do know why you matter under what circumstance. And if I may, this is the plea that I would make to those like myself. I used to be an analyst. I had no idea what PR people did. We listen. We listen and observe before we speak. The good ones do. And we understand why you matter in this situation, because you're reaching these people who are reaching that decision maker at this time
The good ones show up to the parties.
with an expense account.
Well, it's not even that. They just show up because they're building the face-to-face face-to-face relationships
Yeah.
that oftentimes are poorly mapped in the social world. Because if I can follow Mike Arrington around and see how he deals with people face-to-face, I'll know tomorrow's news.
I think you raise a really good point. You can't do this from an ivory tower, because what's missing is the element of trust. Once you and I have met and we understand each other just a little bit better, you know where I'm coming from, I know where you're coming from, then you'll know how to filter the information you get from me.
Yeah.
If I'm an anonymous email or link on a network, you may not know. So you're right, the good ones are going to be there to forge personal relationships, but then they can go back to their clients like General Motors and say, you really need to talk to Rob in this instance because, or you really need to get to this Undersecretary of Transportation for this reason.
Yeah.
We should be able to advocate on behalf of the influencers why they matter in this case.
Well, thanks so much. Where do we find you, by the way, on the internet?
You find us at hillandknowlton.com, and I run the technology practice and also contribute to.
Are you on Twitter or Facebook or?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
For business purposes, I'm on LinkedIn.
Great.
Social purposes on Facebook, and yeah, I'm there.
Great. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thanks.